Before I begin, I want to ask you a question that might shake the very core of who you are. Have you ever felt like there's something different about you, something that sets you apart, something that you can't quite explain? Maybe you felt a pull on your life, a weight on your shoulders, or a whisper in your heart that you're meant for something greater. You've walked through seasons where people misunderstood you, overlooked you, even left you behind. You've wrestled with doubt, fear, and frustration. But deep down, you know there's a fire in you that refuses to be extinguished. Let me tell you, that fire is not a mistake. That pull, that weight, that whisper is not a coincidence. It is a sign. And it's not just any sign, it's a divine mark. A mark that says you've been chosen. But understand, this being chosen isn't about titles, fame, or recognition. It's about purpose. It's about power. It's about stepping into the destiny that's been written for you since the beginning of time. Today, I'm here to help you recognize that mark, embrace it, and rise into the person you were born to be. So let me ask you again, do you carry this divine mark? When you carry the divine mark, it doesn't come with a manual, nor does it come with a promise of comfort. It's not a golden ticket to an easy life. In fact, it's often the opposite. The mark is a call, a deep, undeniable pull towards something greater than yourself. It will disrupt your plans, interrupt your routine, and stretch you in ways you never thought possible. It doesn't show up to make your life predictable. It shows up to awaken your purpose. For those who carry the mark, comfort becomes a foreign concept. The very nature of the call is to disturb the ordinary and challenge the status quo. It stirs you in ways that don't always make sense. You may feel restless in places where you used to find peace. You might feel unsatisfied with what's made you happy. That's the call of work, stirring your spirit, shaking you out of complacency, and urging you to rise to something higher. But here's the reality. The call is demanding. It doesn't settle for half efforts or lukewarm commitments. It asks for everything you have and more. It requires sacrifice, the kind of sacrifice that makes you question whether the price is worth paying. It will ask you to let go of things you once thought you couldn't live without. Relationships, habits, environments, whatever doesn't align with your purpose, the mark will demand you leave it behind. And let's not overlook the weight of responsibility. When you carry the mark, you carry a burden that not everyone can understand. It's not always visible to others, but you feel it every day. It's the sense that there's something you must do, something you must achieve, and no one else can do it for you. The call is specific, it's personal. And because of that, often feels heavy. It pulls you out of what is familiar and comfortable and places you on a path that is uncertain, unpredictable, and sometimes downright difficult. The mark doesn't coddle you, challenges you. It pushes you in uncomfortable spaces because that's where growth happens. It strips away excuses, forcing you to confront your fears, doubts, and insecurities. It doesn't allow you to remain in mediocrity because mediocrity is incompatible with destiny. And let's talk about timing. The call never comes when you feel ready. It shows up in the middle of your chaos, in the midst of your doubts, and often when you feel the least qualified. It doesn't wait for you to have everything figured out. It steps into your life like an uninvited guest, demanding your attention and action. It calls you to step out in faith, even when the path ahead is unclear. What makes the mark so challenging that it often isolates you? Not everyone will understand the call on your life. People may question your choices, doubt your motives, or even discourage you from pursuing what you know is right. The mark separates you not because you're better, but because your purpose requires a different kind of preparation. Carrying the mark often feels like carrying a secret that no one else can see or understand. When you are chosen for something greater, the path becomes narrow and the company around you starts to thin out. Isolation is not an accident, it's part of the process. Before elevation, there must be separation. Before you can rise, you must first be set apart. Isolation can feel like rejection, but it's actually refinement. There are seasons when you look around and realize that the people who once surrounded you have faded away. Friends who used to walk with you are no longer there. Support you once relied on is gone. It's in these moments that you might wonder, what did I do wrong? Why am I alone? But the truth is, the mark requires space for you to grow, space for you to hear, and space for you to transform. Being set apart is not a punishment, it's a preparation. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life. Some people are only equipped to journey with you for a season. When the mark is upon you, your purpose begins to demand more of you, and not everyone can handle the weight of that demand. People who once fit into your life may find themselves uncomfortable with your growth. They may not understand the decisions you have to make or the sacrifices you're willing to endure. And so, one by one, they begin to drift away. This isolation can feel like a wilderness. It's quiet, unfamiliar, and lonely. You might feel like you've been forgotten, like you've been placed on the sidelines while everyone else moves forward. But understand this, the wilderness is not where things end, it's where things begin. It's where you're stripped of distractions so you can focus on what truly matters. It's where you learn to rely not on the applause of others, but on the voice of your purpose. When you're marked, the isolation forces you to confront yourself. It's in the stillness of solitude that you face your fears, your insecurities, and your doubts. There's no one around to validate you or give you permission. It's just you, your purpose, and the Creator who placed it within you. This is where you develop resilience. This is where you learn to stand firm when the noise of the crowd, the blindness. The mark isolates you because it's preparing you for something greater than what you've known. It's protecting you from influences that could derail your journey. It's pruning the branches of your life so that new growth can take place. The isolation is not meant to harm you, it's meant to shape you. And let's not forget the weight of being misunderstood. When you're marked, people might misinterpret your actions or question your motives. They might say, why are you changing? Why are you leaving? Why can't you stay the same? But they don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. The mark gives you a vision that others might not understand. And that vision sets you apart. Isolation also tests your endurance. It asks you to keep going when no one is watching. It challenges you to stay faithful to your purpose, even when it feels like nothing is happening. It's in these quiet, unseen moments that your strength is built. It's where you learn to stand on your own, not for recognition, but because you know you've been called to something bigger. The mark isolates you because elevation requires focus. It removes distractions, eliminates unnecessary noise, and clears the path for you to step fully into your purpose. It may not feel like a gift at the time, but this season of separation is where your foundation is laid. Without isolation, there can be no elevation. When you carry the mark, you cannot escape the fire. It is not a question of if fire will come. It is a matter of when. The fire is an unavoidable part of the journey. And it is not there to destroy you. It is there to reveal you. It is the ultimate test of your purpose, your resilience, and your faith. The fire will strip away everything that isn't necessary. It burns off the illusions, the excuses, and the distractions. It exposes what's real and what's not. When you are marked, the fire doesn't leave any part of you untouched. It reaches into the deepest parts of your soul and challenges you to confront your fears, your insecurities, and even your doubts about whether you're truly capable of carrying the weight of your calling. The fire comes in many forms. It can be the trials that seem to come out of nowhere, the betrayals that cut deep, the disappointments that leave you questioning everything. It could be the moments when the plan you thought was perfect falls apart, or when the people you trusted the most walk away. The fire is relentless. It pushes you to the brink of what you think you can handle, testing not only your strength, but your will to keep going. But here's the thing about the fire, it doesn't just test you, it transforms you. It takes the raw material of who you are and forges it into something stronger, something purer, something unbreakable. You may go into the fire feeling unsure, unworthy, and unprepared, but you come out of it refined, focused, and ready to take on what's ahead. The fire has a way of exposing your foundation. It reveals what you've been building your life on. If your foundation is shaky, built on things like approval, comfort, or convenience, the fire will bring it to light. It will show you where you need to rebuild, where you need to strengthen, and where you need to let go of what no longer serves you. This is not an easy process. It's painful to see the parts of your life that aren't as solid as you thought they were. But it's necessary if you are to rise into your purpose. The fire doesn't just test your strength, it tests your character. It reveals who you are when things don't go your way. Will you remain faithful to your calling, or will you give up at the first sign of trouble? Will you hold on to your integrity, or will you compromise to escape the heat? The fire forces you to answer these questions not with words, but with actions. When you carry the mark, the fire also tests your relationships. Not everyone who starts with you will be able to stand the heat. There are people who will walk away when things get tough, not because they don't care, but because they aren't equipped to handle the weight of your journey. The fire reveals who is meant to be in your life for a season and who is meant to stay for the long haul. The fire doesn't play favorites. It comes for everyone who carries the mark, no matter how strong or prepared they think they are. And while it's natural to want to avoid the fire, the truth is that you need it. Without it, you cannot grow. Without it, you cannot become the person you were created to be. The fire also has a way of silencing the noise around you. When the heat is turned up, you stop worrying about what other people think or say. You stop comparing yourself to others or trying to live up to their expectations. The fire demands your full attention, forcing you to focus on what truly matters. It strips away the superficial and leaves only the essentials. And let's not forget that the fire is a process, not a moment. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a quick test that you can pass and move on from. The fire works in stages, refining you little by little, layer by layer. It may feel like it's never going to end, but every moment in the fire serves a purpose. Every trial, every setback, every challenge is shaping you, preparing you, and equipping you for what's next. The fire is also a mirror. It forces you to confront your strengths and your weaknesses with clarity. It shows you where you've been holding back, where you've been playing small, and where you need to step up. It's not always easy to face the truth about yourself, but the fire doesn't lie. It reveals the real you, the you that is ready to carry the mark and fulfill your purpose. Purpose is not a static thing. It is alive, dynamic, and ever evolving. When you carry the mark, your purpose doesn't just knock on the door and wait for you to welcome it in. It comes crashing into your life with a force that refuses to leave you as you are. Purpose demands transformation, and transformation is rarely a comfortable process. To step into purpose, you must first be willing to let go of who you were. The version of yourself that got you to this point is not the version that will take you to where you are meant to go. Purpose requires you to shed the old habits, old mindsets, old fears. It calls you to release the things that no longer serve you, even if you've grown attached to them. Transformation begins with discomfort. It disrupts your routines, challenges your assumptions, and forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. It's not just about adding new skills or knowledge. It's about a complete overhaul of how you see yourself, your life, and your potential. It's about breaking free from the limitations you've placed on yourself and stepping into a version of you that you never thought possible. Purpose doesn't give you the luxury of staying the same. It will push you to grow in ways that are often painful. Growth demands that you face the truth about yourself, the good, the bad, and the parts you'd rather keep hidden. It's in this confrontation that transformation begins. You start to realize that the things you once thought were weaknesses are actually opportunities for growth. The fears you've been avoiding are the very things you need to face to move forward. Transformation also requires humility. It demands that you admit you don't have all the answers, that you're not as strong or as prepared as you thought you were. Purpose will bring you to your knees, not to humiliate you, but to remind you transformation is a process that requires surrender. You have to let go of your need for control, your obsession with certainty, and your fear of failure. Transformation happens when you allow yourself to be molded, shaped, and refined by the experiences and challenges that come your way. But here's the challenge. Transformation is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process. Purpose will continue to stretch you even when you think you've reached your limit. Just when you feel like you've figured it out, purpose will reveal a new level, a new challenge, a new demand. It's a constant cycle of breaking down and building up, of letting go and taking on, of dying to your old self so your new self can emerge. Transformation is not just about what you do, it's about who you become. Purpose demands a shift in your identity. It requires you to see yourself not as you were, but as you are becoming. You have to stop thinking of yourself as limited, unworthy, or incapable. You have to start seeing yourself as someone who is equipped, empowered, and called to something greater. This transformation will affect every area of your life. It's not just about your career or your goals, it's about your relationships, your mindset, your habits, and even your character. Purpose doesn't just as for part of you, it asks for all of you. It will challenge the way you speak, the way you think, and the way you carry yourself. It will demand that you rise to a higher standard, not because you're perfect, but because you're marked. And let's not ignore the fact that transformation often comes with loss. When you're being transformed, you will lose some things along the way. You may lose relationships that no longer align with your purpose. You may lose opportunities that don't serve your growth. You may even lose parts of yourself, the parts that are holding you back. This loss can be painful, but it's necessary for the transformation to take place. Transformation also requires courage. It takes courage to face the unknown, to step into uncharted territory, and to embrace a future that is bigger than anything you've imagined. It's scary to leave behind what's familiar, even when you know it's no longer serving you. But purpose demands that you take that leap, that you trust the process, and that you believe in the vision even when it feels out of reach. Finally, transformation demands consistency. It's not enough to change for a moment. You have to commit to the process every single day. You have to wake up each morning and choose to align your actions with your purpose. You have to resist the temptation to go back to what's comfortable, to what's easy, to what's familiar. Transformation is not a destination. It's a journey that shapes you into the person you were always meant to be. When you carry mark, you carry a force within you that cannot be contained. It's not just about you. It's about the ripple effect that your life creates. The mark is a catalyst. It stirs things up, disrupts the ordinary, and sets things into motion. When you step into your purpose, you activate something bigger than yourself, something that moves people, inspires change, and shifts the atmosphere around you. The mark is not passive. It doesn't allow you to sit still or stay silent. It calls you to action, and that action creates movement. The moment you embrace your purpose, you begin to shift the dynamics of your environment. People start to notice something different about you, not because you're seeking attention, but because the mark carries a weight, a presence that is impossible to ignore. This movement isn't always dramatic at first. Sometimes it begins with small ripples of conversation, a decision, a step of faith. But those small ripples grow into waves. The mark has a way of amplifying what you do. It takes your actions, your words, and your presence and magnifies their impact. What seems small in the moment can lead to outcomes far greater than you imagine. But let's be clear, movement doesn't happen without resistance. The mark disrupts the status quo, and not everyone welcomes that disruption. Some will be inspired by the movement you create, while others will feel threatened by it. The mark challenges norms, breaks barriers, and confronts complacency. It stirs up emotions, forces conversations, and reveals truths that some would rather keep hidden. This resistance is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's proof that the movement you're creating is real. Your mark doesn't just move others, it moves you first. Before you can create external movement, there has to be an internal shift. The mark works on your heart, your mind, and your spirit. It pushes you out of your comfort zone and into a place of growth. It demands that you move beyond fear, doubt, and hesitation. It calls you to take bold steps, even when you don't have all the answers. This internal movement is the foundation for everything else. The mark also creates movement in others. When people see you walking in your purpose, it awakens something in them. Your courage inspires courage. Your faith stirs their faith. Your willingness to take risks gives them permission to do the same. The mark isn't about drawing attention to yourself. It's about sparking something in others. It's about showing them what's possible when they too embrace their purpose. This movement is not confined to a single moment or place. It spreads. The impact of your mark can reach places you've never been and people you've never met. The conversations you start today can influence decisions years from now. The seeds you plant can grow in ways you'll never fully see. That's the power of the mark. It creates a chain reaction, a movement that goes far beyond your individual actions. Movement also requires momentum. When you carry the mark, you can't afford to stop. The mark demands consistency, perseverance, and faithfulness. It asks you to keep going, even when the path gets difficult. Movement doesn't happen in a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes exhausting. But every step you take, no matter how small, contributes to the larger picture. And let's not overlook the responsibility that comes with creating movement. When you're marked, people look to you for direction, inspiration, and guidance. This is not a burden to take lightly. The movement you create has the power to shape lives, shift perspectives, and even transform communities. It's a responsibility that requires humility, integrity, and a commitment to something greater than yourself. The mark creates movement because it is never just about you. Your purpose is part of a larger story, a bigger plan. The steps you take today are connected to a future that you can't yet see. The movement you create now will pave the way for others to step into their own purpose. Your mark is a spark that lights fires, a seed that grows forests, a force that changes the course of history. The mark you carry is not a coincidence, nor is it a light burden. It is a divine calling that demands your courage, your commitment, and your transformation. The mark isolates you so you can grow, tests you so you can be refined, and moves you so you can create change. It is not meant to make your life easy. It is meant to make your life purposeful. You are not marked for mediocrity. You are marked for greatness. That greatness doesn't come without challenges, sacrifices, or trials. But every step of the journey is shaping you into the person you were created to be. The fire that tests you, the isolation that prepares you, and the transformation that demands everything from you, all of it is working together to elevate you into divine purpose. So stand firm in your calling. Embrace the discomfort, the resistance, and the uncertainty, because those are the very things that prove you are chosen. Let the mark move you, refine you, and inspire you to rise above fear, doubt, and complacency. The world is waiting for the impact only you can make, the movement only you can create, and the legacy only you can leave that you can leave. Carry your mark with honor, knowing that you are not alone. You are part of something far greater than yourself, and the purpose you have been entrusted with has the power to change lives, transform hearts, and create a ripple effect that will be felt for generations to come. The mark is not just a sign of who you are, it is a testament to who you are becoming.